Hello everyone, welcome to another one of Mr. Crow's programming course in Eclipse. Today we're going to be going through loops in Chapter 5. We're jumping from Chapter 3 to Chapter 5 intentionally because loops are a vital part of programming, one of the fundamentals, and really in Chapter 4 you're able to learn a lot more and do a lot more stuff with the things you learn in Chapter 4 if you do loops first. And so I like to jump to Chapter 5 and then back to Chapter 4. So you'll be learning the three different types of loops. There's a while loop, a do while loop, and a for loop. A while loop, you can create whatever you need to create using a while loop. So you could just learn how to do a while loop and be okay. But there is modifications you can do with the do while loop and the for loop. But in general, the reason that there is a while loop, a do while loop, and a for loop, a while loop, you only want to do this loop while something is true. Okay? So normally you're going to use it when you have a condition that is true or false, and you will do it until that condition becomes false. And you can kind of set it up so that it acts like a for loop. And a for loop, you know the number of times that you want this loop to happen. So you're not necessarily, it's not an abstract amount of times or an unknown amount of times. You know exactly the number of times you want something to happen, and you want it to print that many times. An example of a for loop would be if I wanted something to print 100 times, which we'll do an example here in a second of that. And a while loop would be maybe a guessing game where you want this thing the loop to ask the question over and over and over again until you guess the right number or answer the question correctly or something of that nature. So a do while loop is a little bit more specific. It wants you to do something and then checks if the condition is true. So it'll do something proactively, and then at the end it will ask if something is true at the end. So we'll also be learning how to use input with loops, how to answer questions, how to do different things with that, as well as nested loops, loops within a loop, if statements within loops, things of that nature. And let's go ahead and get started. So first they ask, and we're going to go in the book to Eclipse, in the book to Eclipse, back and forth a little bit. So hopefully you have Eclipse open and you follow along with me. A while loop is the first thing that we're going to do, and since you can do both a for loop and a while loop, this would be an example of when I personally would normally do a for loop. But I'm going to show you how to do a while loop first, and then we'll do a for loop with the same loop happening. Okay, so first the while loop. So it has the example there if you wanted to pause and just do it, but int count. First we're going to need to do something where we are saying counting how many times the loop happens. So while count is less than 100, so count starts at 0, and while count is less than 100, we're going to do whatever's in the while statement. So we're going to do system.out.println welcome to Java, and we are going to do count ++. Okay, simple as that. Okay. Run it. Okay, and so it happens a lot of times. Now, how do we know if it's exactly 100? Well, let's check 10. We can count 10. 100 a little bit more difficult. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Or another way, if we wanted to do this, we can add a variable, even the variable that we're counting, into it. This makes this a lot easier. And put a space there. And now it starts at 0. It counts up to 99. And so on the 99th time through the loop, so first time through the loop, count is 0. So you guys, this is a very important understanding right here. Count starts at 0. Okay, 0 is less than 100, so it prints it. Welcome to Java plus count is 0, so 0 would be right here. That would be this line. Then count goes up by 1 after it prints, and then it goes back up to the top of the loop and checks. Is 1 less than 100? Yes, it is, and it prints it over and over and over and over and over again. And then count is 99 on the 100th time through, since we start at 0. So the 100th time we print it, count is 99. Okay, it prints it, and then it reads the next line, adds it to 100, and then after that it still checks. It still goes back up to the top and checks. Is 100 less than 100? No, it's equal to 100. So it doesn't run the loop again. It checks, but it doesn't run it. Okay? Okay, hopefully you understand that. That this is executing, all this code is executing 100 times. Count is changing every single time through the loop. It's adding at the very end of the loop. Okay, and we can, a for loop, we can kind of mix the two. Okay, so we're going to do for, and you don't have to initialize it outside of the loop. You don't have to you're going to initialize it in the loop. So oftentimes we'll use I as our integer that we're counting. It's very common to use that. I less than 100, I plus plus. So notice we are doing the first part that we did up here, the middle part that we did right here, and the last part that we did right here in the while loop, all within the condition. Okay, and so all we have to do on this one is, let's just say Java plus I, and then we can see both loops happening. So we got 100 welcome to Javas and 100 Java. Okay, so that's your while loop and that's your for loop. That's your basics. Same principle. I starts at 0. Prints. Well, starts at 0. It checks 0 is less than 100. Yes. Okay, so it does these two things. Then it goes inside the loop and prints. Then at the end, I adds to itself after it prints. Notice after it prints. Because if it prints 0, it has to add after it goes through the loop. Goes through the loop, goes back up to the top, we start over. Okay? All right. So, if you would like to read through this, that is, you can get a bit much more solid, concrete understanding. This is the loop continuation condition. So this has to be true. This is what's checking if it's true. This is the statement. This is what's printing. Okay, if you're deciding to print, you could be executing a number of different things, but if you're printing, that's how it happens. So if this is true, it does the statement. If it's false, it just goes past the loop. Okay, so if I accidentally made this greater than or greater than, what would print? Well, nothing. Okay, nothing would print because it's not true. If it's not true, it's going to skip past it and go to the end, and there's nothing printed down here. Okay. Yep, variable count is initially 0. The loop checks if count less than 100 is true. It executes the body that number of times. Okay. Loop body. Okay. So you don't just have to have I adding up or count. You can have int sum equals 0 and int I equal 1, and you can start at 1 and have sum add to I. So try to figure out what's happening in this loop. Take a second, pause the video if you need to, and try to think about what would be getting printed at the end right here. Okay, well, the first time through the loop, what is I? Well, I is 1. Sum is 0. So sum equals sum plus I. Okay, so sum was 0, I is 1. So sum is now 1. I plus plus. Okay, I is 2 now. Sum is 1 because sum just added and became 1. So we're still focused inside of this loop right here. So sum is 1, 1 plus, okay, I just became 2, so 1 plus 2. Okay, so the sum is now 3, and then I plus plus. Now I was 2 last time, now it's 3. Okay, so sum is 3, I is 3. 3 is still less than 10. We'll go through the loop again. Sum is 3, 3 plus, well, I we just said was 3. 3 plus 3. Okay, I kind of see the pattern here. 1 plus 2 plus 3. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. Then I will be 4. So 6 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8. Okay, so if you look down here, it kind of explains this. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7, 8, 9. Okay, so what will print out? Well, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, that equals 45. So sum is 45. Okay, it is nice for your understanding and for whoever's reading your code's understanding is if you use names of variables of what you're trying to do in your loop and as well as prompting the user as we always do. Okay, what happens if the loop is mistakenly written as follow, just sum equals sum plus I? Well, sum would always, 1 would always be added to it, and then I would be 1 again, add to it, I would be 1 again, and again, and again, and again, and again, because we didn't I plus plus, and, oh, excuse me, we didn't add to I, so the loop became infinite. Okay, that will come up with an error, and that will slow your code down, and just nothing will show up. Okay, make sure that you know exactly what you're using in the condition and what I or whoever you're going with, whatever tutorial or whatever book you're using, when you use this conditional, you need to be very specific. Is it less than or equal to? Is it just less than? Is it greater than? You need to make sure that you have this operator exactly how you want it. So if count starts at 0 and count is less than or equal to 100, I know it starts at 0 and goes all the way up to 100 and includes 100. Okay, in our original problem, we just did less than. If I added an equal to and an equal to, what would happen? Try to think. Okay, it would add 1 more to the very end, checking if it's equal to 100 as well. Okay, knowing that you have now 101 different Javas getting printed, you need to be very aware of that. Okay, and if we started at 1 and started at 1, what would that do to the code? Well, we would have 100 get printed, but we'd start at 1 and go all the way up to 100. Okay, so just be aware of that and know that those can change. Okay. There was an addition quiz in 3.1 listing that you're welcome to go back and look at, but basically what it's done is it adds two random numbers, and you're going to try to guess or do the addition quiz. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So what it really is asking, so let's do it without looking at the code. Try to do it without looking at the code. So using a loop, you can now rewire the program to let the user repeatedly enter a number until it is correct, as shown in listing 5.1. So let's go ahead and do that together now. I'm going to go ahead and just delete this and restart. You're welcome to save yours and open up a new class. We're going to need to import java.util.scanner. Okay, scanner input equals new scanner system.in. Okay, now we're set up. Int number 1 equals input dot next int. Okay. Oh no, we're going to do map.random, so we're going to do 2 random numbers here. So not input dot next. We're going to do int. Eventually we're going to cast this. We're going to do math.random. Okay, remember that gets a random number between 0 and 1. So if we just left it like this, it would int would cast this to an integer, which would mean that this is truncated or the decimal gets removed. Well, if the number is random number between 0 and 1, excluding 1, so it would be actually 0 and 0.9999999, it would always truncate it down to the integer 0. So we need to multiply it before. So we're going to multiply it by 10. Okay, so we're really getting a number between 0 and 9. Okay, and then we are going to make sure the parentheses are correct on that. Okay, copy, paste, and change this to number 2. And we are going to prompt the user dot print line what is the answer to plus number 1 plus number, and I'll explain this in a second, 2. Okay, so what is the answer to? Okay, we're actually getting the variable, that's a random number, of number 1, and then we're actually putting the text of a plus. So when you remember, when you add an integer or a number and a string, if you're putting them both in one line of code, you need to let Eclipse know that these are 2 different data types that are getting used. So what is the answer to 5 plus 3? Let's try it again. The answer 6 plus 2, 6 plus 9, 0 plus 3. Okay, we got all the way 0 to 9. That proves it right there. Now we create our int answer. Let's do this. We're going to do while int answer. Okay, so while answer, since we don't know the answer that they're going to give yet, oh, we do. So sorry. What is the input? What's the answer? So then we need to do our input. Int answer equals input dot next int. While answer does not equal number 1 plus number 2. Dot print line I'll change that. Answer is wrong. Out. Answer is wrong. Let's do this. Answer is wrong. Try again. Int answer equals input dot next int. Okay. System.out.print line. Correct. So why can I just put correct not inside of any loop or if statement or anything like that? Well, it is because, okay, I don't need to reinitialize this int. It wants to know that this is answer. So the reason I can do correct is because this while loop is going to happen over and over and over and over and over again. Your answer is wrong, try again. Your answer is wrong, try again, until I guess correctly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now it's correct. Okay? All right. Remember, this exclamation point is if it's not equal to. So while answer is not equal to number 1 and plus number 2, it'll keep doing this loop over and over and over again. Okay? So you don't know the number of times this loop is going to happen. A great time to use a while loop. And just going forward. Okay? You got it. Mine was correct, but yeah. Guessing numbers. You can have it very much more specific, and we'll get into this next time. I've already taken up enough of your time on this one where we got introduced to loops. We'll go forward in my next video on doing guessing numbers and making if statements within the loop. So if it's too high, your guess is too high, your guess is too low, guess is way too high, your guess is way too low. We can get it very specific and really get it so that they makes it a little bit easier to really whittle down our guessing game, and it's a way to use if statements. But until next time, thanks for watching Mr. Crow's programming course.